Hello, and welcome to Scale to Exit with your hostess with the mostest, Alejandra Santos. And today we have season 2, episode 2 with Justin Goodbread. And Justin Goodbread is a renowned entrepreneur, author, and business coach with over 30 years of experience in scaling and exiting successful businesses. He's going to share with us a very personal story about his entrepreneurial journey, which started at the age of 15. He's going to share with everybody insights and tips on how to scale a business for an exit like he did with the business that he's exited for 10 million within just 49 months. So we have an expert at scaling and exiting high value businesses, and I cannot wait to bring her on board. Before we do that, make sure that you like and subscribe to whatever platform you're using to listen to the podcast. If you want to go to all of them, even better. If you like in Apple or Spotify or YouTube, just make sure you like, subscribe, and share this episode with all of your fellow colleagues, business owners, entrepreneurs, founders, whoever you have in your group, because it's going to be a very juicy episode with lots of information. So without further ado, I'll see you on the other side. Well, thank you, Justin Goodbread, for coming to Scale to Exit. I am really excited to share your experience and your journey with the listeners. And as I was sharing with everybody, your amazing careers and your books that you have published, there's something about your journey that really grabbed my attention, and that's the fact that you started your career at the age of 15. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what drove your journey at the age of 15, which is really early, into entrepreneurial world, and then how do you dive into the exits?
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. At the age of 15, my dad gave me an ultimatum. He said, son, have a job by Friday and don't come home. So that's what led me into the business of entrepreneurship. And ultimately, I ended up cutting a person's grass who paid me some money. And my dad, with his wisdom, he barely got out of high school, but he and my mom had raised myself, my brother and sister to be business owners. And he came home from work tired, smelly from working at the Port Authority, which is where they load grains and stuff on ships and send them overseas. And he said, son, I want you to remember something. You just made more money today in a matter of a couple of hours than I did all day long working for, as he called it, the man. And he said, if you would forever take control of your own destiny, you'll never go without. I can remember that like it was yesterday, Alejandro, sitting on the front steps of my house at the age of 15. So that launched this journey, if you will, of being a business owner. And now since that day, I've now started and sold 7 companies and was actually a president of a company that we took and doubled its value in just 18 months from an 8-figure company to a 9-figure valuation. So it's been a fun journey along my 30 some odd years as a business owner, but it all began literally pushing a lawnmower and cutting somebody's grass.
So your story is a little bit similar like mine. Like I was into entrepreneurship very early age as well, given my family education. But I'm like really eager to see. So you had so many businesses from the age of 15 as entrepreneur all the way till now. Where do you feel like you shine the most, and what is your biggest passion out of all of them?
Where I shine the most specifically is around strategic planning. We as business owners, we have this flaw in us, and that is that we're highly capable individuals. We're very tenacious, we're smart, we're intelligent, we take on risk. And just like you're shaking your head, I shake my head. Yes, that's me. That's me. So does every business owner out there. But that's our flaw in the sense that we see opportunities everywhere and we chase them all. And so where I shine in my own career, what's allowed me to reach so many of the statuses that I've been able to achieve in a very short period of time. I figure by the age of 46 now that I've achieved a fair amount. What's allowed me is through strategic planning, knowing specifically here's where I am today, good or bad. And many of us are struggling at times, and those of us are on mountaintops at times. We're all within this conundrum at some point. But how do I get from where I'm at to where I truly desire to be? And the shortest distance obviously is a straight line, but life is not a straight line. Life is about trial and error. We fail as entrepreneurs consistently. We fail more often than we succeed. The rule of 80-20 is applicable to us in our business. So for me, where I shine is saying, okay, where do I need to be and how do I eliminate the least amount of failures? How do I fail? And when I fail forward so that I can pick myself up so I can motivate those around me. Now, what's encouraging me to me about this, to your second part of your question, is at this stage of life, I've achieved some things that I thought were never impossible that I've been able to achieve due to that strategic planning. Now I have the unbelievable opportunity to literally speak with hundreds, if not thousands, of business owners per year, either through my own podcast, through my stage presence, through one-on-one coaching. I'm able to now talk to business owners and say, hey, there is a path forward. The way I say it is that this country boy who was born and raised on a dirt road in South Georgia, I mean, we didn't have gravel or asphalt, a dirt road. If I can accomplish these small things in life, anybody can. I'm not overly smart. I'm not gifted beyond measure. I'm just a country boy. And this guy who was born and raised in a very small rural community in South Georgia can accomplish these things by simply saying, hey, I see my future out there. I know it's there. If I can look at that and I can taste, I can feel it, and I'm able to achieve that than anybody can. So I had the privilege right now of actually speaking into that and helping business owners realize that you can accomplish anything that you think you can accomplish.
So you said a lot there. A lot of the times when I speak with business owners, there's a lot of objections with like belief systems that they have already, or the mindset. How do you help business owners overcome their belief system that has been engraved by their family saying, no, you cannot do it, or this is too hard, or for you, obviously you've done it so many times, it seems like an easy road, but for other people, it seems so hard in their eyes. How do you help them overcome that hurdle?
Well, first of all, it's not an easy road. I'm human, just like everybody else. And I would have to say that those who we look at and we admire that have accomplished some amazing feats through our own measurements, oftentimes the reason why they've been able to accomplish this is because they've had monumental failures. And so even though we look at pinnacle type personalities out there, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of things behind there. So, to your root question, how do I position my mind? Well, first of all, I love the statement by Zig Ziglar, a motivational speaker of the late. And he used to say, he said, motivation is like a bath. We need them daily. Why? Because we have our own worst enemy within our minds. If we're not speaking to ourselves first with affirmations, positive affirmations, knowing crystal clear where we want to achieve, then we're never going to achieve it. So how do I accomplish it? I constantly am saturating my mind with positivity of influencers that I respect, who are speaking affirmations saying, hey, Goodbread, you can accomplish anything that you desire to accomplish. Literally, whenever I get in the car with my kids, we'll take a journey somewhere and I'm playing some motivational speakers of late. I love Les Brown. He's a raspy voice. He just says, you got to be hungry. My kids now can like mimic him. And Zig Ziglar and a lot of these influentials. Today we have the Tony Robbins of the world, the Ed Miletts of the world today. So many of the Amy Porterfield, she was recently talking on something. So many of these people who are now speaking affirmations. That's number one, is you constantly saturate your mind with positivity. Number two is I remove all negativity. I try to remove those things or those people or those contexts or whatever that could speak words of doubt. Just this morning, we were in the gym working out with my kids, and we work out together as a family with our trainer. And my youngest son said, "I cannot do this," and he stopped and started. I said, "Time out." And then everybody stopped. I said, "Son, we don't say I cannot do this. What we say is, I cannot do this yet." And he stopped and looked at me and said, well, Dad, why? I said, because you will achieve this as long as you put the yet on there. You can't achieve this outcome yet at some point in the future. So I try to remove all negativity from my life. Now, I have coaches who coach into my life. I have 5 coaches right now who help me. But at the same time, I'm coaching into other people's life, that same thing. Number 3 is I'm listening to podcasts or reading books, podcasts like yours, where you're trying to impact the audience. I like to be spoken into from people outside because somebody else's experience is often a better teacher than our own. So I like to have somebody speaking into my life consistently. I turn off the stinking news and the world around us, which is this negativity. I try to get rid of it and stay focused on the mission that I believe God has given me to achieve. So for me personally, it's all about controlling the inflow into my mind, because as it's like a seed, whatever gets put in my mind is going to take a root. And I don't want that root to be anything other than the desired outcome that I believe is designed my life for, my life has been designed for.
Did you have to break relationships with your family members at some point? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, some some immediate family members over the last 2 years because I felt attacked. I felt um, judged. I felt devalued because of some comments, and it was enough is enough. Boom. So we had to have a conversation saying, hey, look, I love you. I'll do anything for you. I will charge hell with a water pistol for you. I care about you, but I cannot have this happen in my life. There's too much going on. I have this mission in front of me that I know you don't understand, but I have this mission that if I don't achieve this, I am not going to be satisfied in my life. The way I describe it is this way. I'm not in a race against you, against anybody listening to me. I'm running a journey that only I can run. I'm not looking at my competition because I have no competition. The only competition I have is me yesterday. I got to outpace Justin Goodbread of yesterday, and I got to outpace Justin Goodbread today, tomorrow, because as long as I can stay in front of myself and look at the destination that I believe God has equipped me for, then anything else is noise, including immediate family members. And sometimes that's hard. Now, what's happened through that is they found deep respect for me. They didn't like it at the time. I faced all the hate and all the stuff around it. But here we are now years later, and there's a deeper respect. Like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that you were fighting your own demons at that time. Because literally, I have demons in my head. I can't allow you to feed them. And so now there's a deeper respect some years later.
Yeah, it's always so hard. I feel like that is the hardest part of our personal journey when it comes to when we have a big mission or a dream, like you said, and we have to follow through, and those people next to us are just saying no and putting all this doubt and fear, and we just have to say, I cannot do it anymore. Sorry.
Well, the
Um,
reality of that situation is that that dream was given to you specifically to you for you. And it's the same is true for me. And the same is true for everybody who's listening to us. If our family had had that dream, they would have tried to achieve that dream. It wasn't given to them. And so from their context, they look at that dream saying, you've lost your ever loving mind. Why in the world are you going to quit the 6-figure job and go work over here for yourself? Why are you going to sell the company? Why are you going to do this? Why are you? Because it's my dream. And the only thing I'm going to be disappointed is whenever I'm 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, and I'm with my children, my family around the thing, and I want to be able to look at them and say, your dad did everything in his power to pursue the dream that God had given him. And it's no one else's excuse if I didn't achieve it. It's mine. So that's the difference. Our family doesn't have that. Our friends don't have that. So we love them where they're at. But at the end of the day, it's okay, I hear you, but this is my path I'm on. I have to fulfill my path.
Amen to that. I really love that you say with so much passion. That dream is given to us because we are being called to fulfill that dream. Us, you and I, we have different dreams. But talk to me about the exit side because you've been building businesses and then selling them, and now you're coaching people on how to do that. So there is a journey there of passion that I'm looking at. Talk to me about your personal obstacles and then business obstacles that you accomplish along the way.
There's a sad number to me, Alejandro. There's a sad number that breaks my heart. And this is where my passion is at this phase of life. The number is this: 8 trillion. Roughly $8 trillion of somebody's life's work is going to go down the drain. Currently in the United States, there's 30 million business owners in the United States. There's small business owners, and I believe small business owners under 500 employees, according to the Small Business Association, I believe we're the heartbeat of our country. And by the way, any other person around the world, wherever your country is, your small business owner is the heartbeat of your country. So I've got some friends of mine in Australia and China, various other places. You're the heartbeat. So as business owners, we sacrifice so much for our team, for our clients, for our communities, for our charities, for everybody else except for us. But yet we have this asset, this business that literally, statistically speaking, comprises of 80% of our net worth. When we look at our balance sheet, unlike our unlike our W-2 brothers and sisters who may have a 401k who's been investing in that 401k perhaps for decades, we haven't. We've been pouring all our dollars into our company. We've been pouring into our product, into our service, pouring it back into our company, only to have this business comprise of about 80% of our net worth. Now, statistically speaking, 20% of us will actually transact our business. So that means right now there's $13 trillion in small business value in the United States, and roughly 8 trillion of it is going to vanish because our business is not an asset. It's a job. It's built to where we get income and perhaps a nice income, but an investor from the outside is not willing to give us their cash for our business. So I remember sitting on a mountaintop in West Virginia with a very dear friend of mine at that time. I was a financial advisor. I was in my little small practice, my fourth business, and it was scaling pretty quickly. And I remember sitting on this mountaintop, and he said, Justin, I'm broke. Shocked me. I looked down across the valley where he had his equipment in his shop and everything, and there was a couple $1 million worth of equipment there. I'm like, there's no way you're broke. Now I knew what he was saying. He did have a couple $1 million worth of equipment, but because if he were to sell his equipment, he would have this thing called recapture tax, and he would lose most of it in taxes to the IRS. And he said, Justin, I cannot sell everything I have and afford the lifestyle that I'm used to. I cannot retire. I've been doing this for 30 years, man. I'm tired. I want to do something different. I want to go out and coach some people. I want to help consult some companies. I just can't quit because I'm tagged to my company. In that moment, I said, I'm not going to be this individual. Now, we had already had unbelievable success, starting and selling a couple of companies, not intentionally. And I came back from that mountaintop experience. I said, I'm going to start a company from scratch, and I'm just going to try. Can I build this company for an exit? Can I build it with the purpose of trying to design it for sale? Now, I hired my coach. My coach cost me 6 figures a year to help me coach and just learn it. But ultimately, 49 months later, I had an 8-figure exit. And so now when I look at business owners out here, I'm like, look, you've been spending your entire life pouring into this company, pouring into your team, your community, your product, your service. You have bled, literally. You have sweated. You cried at night. You stayed awake at night, worried about your customer, your employees. But the reality is, unless you pause, time out, look at your business as what it is. It is not your identity. It is not your baby. It's a wealth creation tool. It is there to create wealth for you, your employees, your communities, your charities. It is a wealth creation tool. And the reality is, in probably 50 to 100 years, it's not going to be in existence anymore. So let's design this thing where it is attractive to somebody at a future date, because we don't know what's going to happen. So I know I've been talking for a second, but I'll give you the end of the story. During COVID, like many of us around the country, around the world, I faced a very interesting situation in my own family. I found my wife laid up in the hospital room with a 12% chance of survival. Unbelievable chance of survival. My business was accelerating, 40% growth margins. I'm taking 4 months off a year. I'm living high on the hogs, we would say in the country. I'm making a lot of money. I'm having fun. In that moment, my wife looked at me and she said, Justin, what's another $1 million going to do for us? Now, that's not a beat against my chest. I'm not a prideful individual. But in that moment, it was like a slap across the face from my beautiful bride, whom I love deeply, who I didn't think I was going to have any longer. And in that moment, my coach said, Justin, if you had unlimited time, none of us do, and unlimited resources, he didn't say money, he said resources. Man, Justin, what would you do tomorrow that you're not doing today? And just like that man on top of the mountain in West Virginia, I said, you know what? I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And almost every business owner that I ask that question to, they'll say, I'd take more time off. I'd spend more time with my family. I would invest in my charities. I would do this and this and this. They never say, I would work harder. They never say that. In that moment, I said, I'd spend more time with my wife. I'd make memories with my kids. I'd pour back into business owners' lives and tell them there's a way that they can grow their business that affords them freedom that they never dreamt of. They dreamt of it in the early days and they got handcuffed because of this Frankenstein business they created. But there's a way to do it. My business coach said, son, you might want to consider selling your business. You're in your early 40s. Sell your business, put the cash in the bank, and go help the world, go impact the world of small business owners out there and tell them there's a way that you don't have to work till you're dead. So this world of exit planning is not about getting rich. It's not it. It's about creating a business that somebody's willing to pay you a little cash for, that you can see your hard-earned work all those nights come to fruition so that you can take care of your family, as I know we all desire, while at the same time taking care of your employees, your customers, your communities, and your charities.
So I love the story that you just shared with me, by the way. That is a very empowering story. And what you said about 20%. So 20% of business owners really have the voluntary exit or less than that. But everybody, all of us are going to exit our business. Like we're not living forever. We're going to die, right? Like that's a reality. And that as you're a SEPA, I'm a SEPA, that has been something that I struggle with business owners, letting them know you're going to exit. I understand that you're not thinking about that right now, but this is something that you should see your business as such, as like you said, a wealth creating tool. How do you help business owners understand this? And what would you tell everybody that's listening? That way they are really understand that this is a thing that you can actually retire with and make a life after and like use it for your advantage and not just work hard and here it goes.
The way that you help somebody is getting down to the core of what do they truly desire. And for many business owners, we don't slow down enough to actually answer that question. In fact, just today, I was talking to two financial advisors who were like, Goodbread, how did you achieve what you achieved? And I asked them a question. I said, before I answer your question, let me ask you a very targeted question. What do you want to happen in your life in the next 5 years? Give me the specifics. And Alejandro, they couldn't tell me. And that's the reality for most business owners. And these are financial advisors who are consistently asking that question of their clients, but they themselves, and they said, Justin, I don't know, I've never slowed down enough. Then how do you know that you're going to achieve? It's like Alice in Wonderland, the Cheshire Cat. You're not going to achieve it because of the concern of not hitting a particular target. So the first question I ask business owners is, what do you truly want? My coach pays to me in such a question. I'll ask the same question yet again. If you had unlimited time and unlimited resources, let's dissect that. It could be money. It could be experience. It could be talent. It could be a network. It could be a number of things. If you had unlimited time and unlimited resources, what would you do tomorrow that you currently can't do today? And in that answer, you could almost dissect out what is truly at your heart. And I've yet to ask a client that they don't come down to the things that really matter. For most people, it is my faith, my family, my friends, my health, a little bit of money, but money is typically not the top 5 answers. It never is. And so if I'm able to get a business owner to take a step back, pause. It's an old Hebrew word that says selah. In other words, just take a break and reminisce and meditate on that question. If you look at the answer to that question, then you'll come to the conclusion that, hey, I've got this business now. What do I do with it? I know that at any moment, just like I experienced my wife, that something can happen. Something can happen in a heartbeat, whether it be this guy in West Virginia was scared that somebody's going to come out on a curve and kill one of his employees. That would have devastated his business. So what could happen in your company? Now, how do we prepare it today so that company can be attractive? In real estate, the way I describe it to our clients, the way when I'm speaking on stage, I'll say in real estate, we've heard location, location, location. How many times that's been ingrained to me since my mom and dad bought their house in the 80s from Century 21 guy. So today, as for business owners, it's all about timing, timing, timing. As you just said, as a business owner, we want to have the option to move out of our company on our terms. We are the utmost control freaks, aren't we? We want to control everything. Well, why not control your exit? We don't. And whenever you can talk this openly to business owners, they start pausing. They start looking. It's like, holy cow. Well, what is my business worth? Well, let's find out. And let's see what it could be worth without increasing the revenue. Let's talk about how do we increase the value of this company. And now let's move forward along that journey so that if the time comes and if somebody's interested in paying you tons of money for it, that now you're positioned properly so that you can capitalize on it.
So, by the way, is your wife still good?
Yeah, thanks for asking me. I didn't finish that. My wife is brilliant. In fact, she and I are going to go on a date tonight. It was a miracle. She was healthy. It was the best thing I ever did was selling my business. 4% of business owners actually are happy they sold their business, not because they had to. I didn't have to sell my company. We're making bank, having fun. But now I'm having the opportunity to now create memories with my children, my wife, and she's doing great. Thanks for asking.
No, I love that. I mean, what you said is so true. You want to have the option to exit your business on your own terms. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that option because they are not really aware that that's an option to have. And that's why we're having this kind of conversations to raise awareness because exits, believe it or not, even though it's been going around for many years, it's still not mature industry. It's still an industry that's emerging in some way, growing. But I want to talk about your book, Your Baby's Ugly, because you did share about, I actually love the cover, by the way. It's really cute. Is that your baby?
No, it's not my baby. I wish it were, but my kids are beautiful. But it's a cool little kid on there,
Is
by
it
the way.
cute? Yeah.
Cool kid.
I like it. So you did talk about, I talk about a lot about leadership and management and how that really affects the value of your business in this podcast. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, so there are 8 key areas to business. There's 8 areas for every business. Management and leadership, I call it leadership, is one of those 8 areas. The 8 areas, just for context, is planning, where are we going? Leadership, number 2, sales and marketing, 3 and 4, people, operations, finance, and legal or compliance. Those 8 areas that every business deals with. Leadership is one of those components. So here's what's interesting to me. In the interweb world we live in, especially the social media influencers, they get a lot of conversation around leadership, and we elevate leadership super high, and it is important, but is equally important as all the other 7 things. So whenever we look at leadership, what I like to describe is how do you lead yourself, or how do you move yourself from the epicenter of the business? See, the most valuable business is one where you don't have to show up to work at. The most valuable business is one that can operate without you. In fact, I coach financial advisors and business owners nationally on how they can scale, how they can rapidly double or triple the value of their company. And one of the exercises I teach them, in fact, I just told somebody this before I put on a call with you, was, hey, look, I have this goal for you 9 months from now. I want you to take 45 days off. It's almost like he had just like ate a rabbit. It was funny. He just went, he just turned white on me. He said, there's no way. I'm like, there is a way, but it's going to require you to lean into leadership and make sure that your team is properly equipped and they can deal with this. Now, it unpacks all the other areas of business. So leadership, I go through several questions in my book, but one of the basic at the heart of the matter is, business owner, you've got to have a company that can operate without you. You've got to remove yourself from the epicenter of the business. That's the ultimate purpose of leadership.
And everybody wants to have a company that operates without them. That's the really goal. And you also talk about a 10-step process to create repeatable sales. If you can share a little bit of that process, because that sounds interesting.
Yeah, we won't be able to cover it on the
I know.
podcast in earnest. It's in the book in detail, but so the way that I often see business owners we work is we look at things in a silo. And the whole idea of the book, the reason why I said even the 8 areas of business, is everything is interconnected and they're all equally of importance. We as business owners, we may be the best salesperson on the team. We know our product, we know our service, we know who our avatar is, and we can speak to them with fluidity and we can speak to them with passion. And we lean into the microphone and we lean into the phone and they can just feel our energy. And so we make a sale off that energy. The reality is that this 10-step process to actually increase the conversion ratio begins way back at planning. It begins way back when you know who specifically you're speaking to. What is their pain point? The way I describe it today with a client is, until you know that one person that you can serve better than anybody else, that one person whenever you can come in their life, that you can radically change their life for the rest of their life, and you understand every pain point that they're dealing with, and you've spoken about it, you can write about it, you can talk about it, you can get up on stage, you can do whatever you do around that pain point, and you speak about it in your marketing programs, your leadership programs, your planning departments, all your operations internally are positioned to address that. Even the internal language that your employees use address their pain point. Whenever you do that and you tie everything together, then the sales conversion process is simple. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Client, prospect, we understand this is your pain point. Is this accurate? Absolutely. How'd you know? Well, because I've been obsessed over your problem for years. Now, if I understand it correctly, you want to come here. Here's your outcome that you desire. Sales is simply saying we have positioned our entire company to move you radically in a time efficient manner from your pain point that you just identified to this desired outcome. And our entire company is positioned to help escort you through systems. See, people don't pay for education. You got to hear this as a business owner. People do not pay for your knowledge. They pay for processes and systems. They pay for how to implement. Knowledge is easy. We can get off the internet with Google, anything else, in chat GTP these days. What they're paying you for is, can you help me arrive at my desired outcome in a time efficient or in a more effective manner? That's how sales all work together. So we unpack all that in much more detail in the book.
Yeah, so everybody that wants to read the book is called Your Baby's Ugly. And it's actually cute. It's actually on Amazon and you can like find it anywhere basically. But let's talk more about value acceleration strategies, because you and I possess the same credentials in a few ways. So, but I want to hear it from you. Why do you tell people, entrepreneurs, business owners, that are a few actionable strategies that they can implement in their business right now, even though they're not exiting anytime soon?
So we first have to understand what is value acceleration. So I'm going to give a little bit of a teaching to make sure we're on the same page. And this is just my heart. So
I love
I know
it.
you deal with this day in,
Let's
day
do
out,
it.
but let me just kind of lay the groundwork. So let's assume for conversation points that we have a business that's producing $100,000 in revenue. Just use that number. That it could be NOI, it could be profit, it could be gross profit. Let's just use $100,000 as a number. And let's assume for conversation points that the value of our company is comprised of a multiple of 2. So the way we would calculate a value is 100,000 times 2 is $200,000 in value. So when we look at this valuation, we as a business owner may say, I think my company should be worth more than that. Now, in our ignorance, I'm going to use that word again. In our ignorance, what we do is we say, oh my goodness, we don't have enough value. I'm going to go out and sell more. So we go out and we take our $100,000 number and we double it at $200,000. And now we've won. So now we have a company that's worth $200,000 in value, in revenue. Multiply that by our number 2 multiple. We now have a company that's worth $400,000. Here's the problem. The problem is we just increased a technical term called company-specific risk. When we double our revenue, we double our throughput. When we double our revenue, we double the problems. Let's say it that way. We double the stresses. We double our headaches. We had double the clients. We have double the employees. We have double the pain. And yet all we did was double our value. So then we say, oh my goodness, well, I don't want to work twice as hard. No one does, but I want to double my value. So then what we look at is we say, well, you know what? We have $100,000. We could go in and support the things which would cause our multiple to go from 2 to 4. So we can say, okay, we have $100,000 times 4 is a $400,000 value. The same thing as doubling our revenue. That's not efficient either. Because if we try to double the things that move our intrinsic value, we're going to run out of capacity. We're going to need more capacity to actually support our team. So we got to focus on both sides of the coin. So the way I describe it to clients is: have you ever seen a one-sided piece of toast, or have you ever eaten a one-sided pancake? No, there's 2 sides to everything. So what we have to look at as business owners is we have to focus on the revenue component as well as the multiple. Here's what happens. Let's say, for illustration purposes, that we just increase both of those by 50%. So we move from 100,000 to 150, and we move from 2 to 3. 150 times 3 is now $450,000 in value. We actually have a higher valuation by not leaning 100% into the revenue component or 100% into the multiple component. So if we understand value acceleration as simply saying, I'm going to look at my business, I'm going to see the revenue component side as well as the intrinsic value, the multiple component side. Now, how do we increase the multiple component? We all know how to increase the revenue. We go out and we produce more sales. But how do we increase the intrinsic value or the multiple component? It's all the things that remove you, the business owner, from the epicenter of the company. It's that simple. We create a standardized process for a standardized client, for a standardized output, for a standardized employee group. Everything is standardized. So in my own company, whenever I was scaling it rapidly, even the company I took and doubled it from an 8-figure to a 9-figure valuation in 18 months, mind you, what we did is we said, okay, you've got this revenue stream coming in. We're going to focus on that 20% of that revenue that really matters to us. We're going to focus on the 20% of your employees that really matter. We're going to focus on the 20% of our clientele and the 20% of processes. Cool. We have our centralized position. Now let's create systems that, here's the key. Oh, I'm excited now. Hold on, buckle up. Here we go. You've got to create systems that your true client desires. Let's talk about your true client. Your true client is the person who's going to buy your business. Your customers are the people you serve. So once you identify, here's the business I have, and here's the potential buyer of my business in the future, what is it that they need my company to look like in order to pay me the premium dollars? See, so the systems in my financial advisory practice, the way I built an unbelievable business was I focused on the marketing component because financial advisors have a hard time marketing. In fact, I read today that 56% of advisors out there said that finding new clients is their number one pain point. I solved it. I had 12 new clients per week coming into the company. That's unheard of. So provided premium value. Why? Because I knew what my ultimate customer wanted to achieve. So there are ultimately 256 metrics that every business can shift that moves the value up. And I can't dive into that today. I'm actually writing another book on that. But there are some measurements inside that. The key is is that as business owners, yes, we focus on revenue. We do it all the time. But we have to focus on the things that our future buyer wants our companies to look like.
Building a business with the intention of who is going to buy your company is so important, especially because there's so many different types of exits out there. Is it a PE? Is it a competitor? Is it who is the person that's going to buy your business? So in terms of like scaling, because you have so much experience building and exiting your businesses, what are some challenges that you have overcome and help other people overcome as well?
The first challenge that I have, and I see it consistently in business owners, is a control challenge. We want to control everything. And the reality is we can't be good at everything. So the way that I've personally dealt with this is I look at my personal makeup in comparison to those 8 key areas. So I'm a high, you probably can gather this already, I'm a high D on the DISC model. I'm off the charts, dominant type personality. I'm a typical CEO. But I'm also a C. I'm very detailed in my personality. I'm not the guy who likes to get out there and socialize at parties. I'm not that guy. I'm not the fun loving guy. I'm a very dominant, very analytical person. So when the very first person that I hire is completely opposite of me, just like my wife, she's the complete opposite of me. So the very first person I hire is that individual. Why? Because I want to get all the things to that individual that I don't want to do. That's the easy hire. Now, as the company scales, I end up having to replace myself. I end up having to find another mini me, a dominant person to actually come in and take over the sales or to be the CEO of the company. I have to find somebody and start replacing me. So that's one way. Another way that you're looking at is you're constantly looking at the customer experience. The customer experience will tell you everything around the structure of your company. What do they hear in the marketing component? First of all, do we have the right customer? Do we have it detailed? One avatar, not many, one avatar. And is the marketing side positioned to message that avatar where they're at? Then as we bring them into our funnels, let's use that as a broad term, do we have our sales team positioned properly? And then once they buy from us, do we have the operation or the delivery side of the company to actually deliver on what we told them we would do in the marketing side? And then once we do that, do we have the QC in place to make sure that if there's a problem that arises or if they're buying a product or service that they're getting what we said they were going to do? If I look at the client journey, every single time I'm coaching a client, I can find the problems that attack the value of the customer journey. So I would say for today's podcast, 2 things you can look at to increase the value of your company is number 1, consistently decentralizing yourself. How do you do less tomorrow than you did today as the owner? Number 2, how do you enhance the customer experience? You work through those 2 avenues within your business, you'll start uncovering all the things that the future buyer ultimately wants to see your company succeed at.
How did you overcome the controlling part of it? Because that one's a hard one to do.
I think at some point, whenever you get beat up enough, you eventually surrender and wave the white flag, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many times my mom would tell me, son, don't touch the stove, it's hot. And yet I'd be the one who touched the stove because it's hot. There comes a certain point where us hard-headed business owners, myself included, just get tired of getting beat up. And so the controlling thing is for me, once I learned that I am good at one thing, and I'm probably not even good at that. And the reality, I remember this in full transparency in Canada. I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast. I had a client one time ask me a question, and I was coaching them on building the value. And we had already doubled the value of the company, and we're getting ready to do it again. And he said, Justin, do you have an MBA, Master's of Business Administration? I was like, nope, I don't. I have 5. And he's like, what? I said, yeah, I have 5 employees who have MBAs, and I trust them, and they do everything I ask them to do, and they tell me what doesn't work, and I just listen to them. It's amazing. They're so brilliant. And he's like, that's it. I said, I don't want to be the smartest person in my company. I want my team to be smart. I want them to be successful. I want them to. And so that mindset around, I don't have to have all the answers. I want to build a business that provides me cha-ching bank in terms of income. I wanted a business that provided me the ability to live a lifestyle that I desired. I wanted a business that was going to drive my value for my company. I wanted a business that was going to allow me to afford and work with the charities that my wife and I work with, orphanages around the country. I wanted the ability to do that. And so I couldn't do that if I was the top dog in the company. And that's 20 years of being a business owner and selling 7 companies now. That has allowed me to be able to take my pride, set it aside, and say, I've got a really good team, and they're really good at their job.
It's boring being the smartest one, too. I mean, honestly. I don't like being the smartest one in the room either. I have more fun when people are smarter than me. Okay, so in economic uncertainty, let's talk about that because there's so much going on. The new administration is coming on. There's a lot of noise around that. There's also the wildfires that are happening currently that affects businesses. What advice would you give everybody that's a victim of that, and obviously of the administration that's coming in?
Well, as we're recording this today, the wildfires in California are heartbreaking. So, my heart for anybody who's out there, my prayers are with you. Let me say that right off the bat. I don't know when this goes live, but we have some dear friends of ours who were impacted by this, and we actually are providing them refuge here in East Tennessee as they try to get their life back in order. So, my heart breaks for what's happening out there. For when we start looking at politics or monetary policy or geopolitical issues, that's been around forever. That's norm. We as business owners, if we're running a prudent business, then what we should be looking at is whenever we make bank, whatever that is, whenever those times come where we actually have some success, we have to set some money back for rainy days. Whenever we don't have success, we lean into that rainy day money. So right now, we've had a pretty good run for small business owners, depending on what industry you're in. But the last 2 or 3 years have been fairly lucrative for business owners. We've had so many new business owners try to go out and start businesses. It's been an unbelievable environment to be in. It may not be the same case tomorrow for whatever reason. It may not be the same case in 3 years. We could have civil unrest. We could have prosperity. We don't know what it's going to be. My rule of thumb is that whenever times get tough, and they're going to come again in my lifetime, they're going to come again in yours as we're listening to this. Those are whenever the true businesses shine. And what I like to do, think of COVID, for example. COVID challenged many business owners. I watched grown country boys, I'm talking about men who couldn't hardly walk through a door. Their hands were calloused from working in the woods, weeping like babies because they couldn't care for their teams the way they wanted to do. I saw that in my own eyes. What I saw in that time period when times got tough, the businesses which leaned into the wind, the businesses which marketed in the tough times, the businesses which supported their teams in the tough time, the businesses where the owners took the back seat and sacrificed everything they could for their employees, those are the businesses that excel. I'm reminded of what my coach teaches about. He talks about the buffaloes in the plains of the United States. So the buffalo is the only animal that whenever a storm's coming, they actually walk into the storm. They don't run away from it like cattle do. They walk into the storm because they know whenever those hard winds and the snow comes, that the quickest way to surpass that storm is to lean into it and walk headstrong into it. Now, we as business owners, we're tenacious. I've said that before. We're curious. We have this certain fire in our belly. Whenever times get tough, it's up for us to be the leaders, to lean into that hard time, to rally our team, to support them, to take sacrifices of ourselves. During a hard time, I've had times where I've had to liquidate my 401k to provide paychecks for my employees. I've had to go out and borrow money on my home equity line of credit to pay for my teams. I've had to borrow money from friends to take care of my employees just on my word that I'll pay you back. That's what a true business owner does in hard times. Now, we can prepare for it by setting some monies aside or some during positive times. So I don't know what the future is going to hold. Some people have positive outcomes. Some people have negative outcomes. Regardless, we will face good times and bad times. But those of us who are business owners, we have the opportunity and a privilege to lead our teams, our customers, our communities into the storm, knowing that as we lean into it, we're going to get stronger and we're going to come out of it just zipping and making monumental moves.
And you brought up COVID. I mean, there's so many businesses that actually increased their revenue exponentially through COVID. They created a store, they have reached out to other target markets, and they were able to be successful. Unfortunately, I am part of the wildfire experience here, and unfortunately, there's businesses that have been gone completely over, and it really breaks my heart as well. And for them to restart and create a future-proof business, what would be a strategy for the future to create a business that sustains any kind of disaster?
So let's go back to the mindset first. Okay. Now, I want to deal with the mindset first because I too have faced some devastating things in my life. I can't get into it because of non-compete agreements and NDAs, but I can tell you that I've never experienced a wildfire. I can't even imagine the heartbreak that so many of our brothers and sisters are experiencing. So my heart bleeds. But there is this mindset that you can have. First of all, is stuff. Thank God we have our lives and we have our families. It's just stuff. And I firmly believe this, and this is who I am. I believe with every fiber of my being that my God has created each of us for something that only we can do. I believe that with all my heart. And if that's the case, then you're here on earth for a reason. And that is that you have a mission that only you can fulfill. So even though we face the adversity of, in this case, the wildfire in the context, even though we face the adversity of that wildfire, you still have an unbelievable opportunity to leave your mark on this world. So I understand, I don't understand how hard it is, but I understand the feeling of loss. I do. And I understand also that you are uniquely equipped for something that only you are equipped for. Let me say that as a mindset thing first of all. Now, when we look at business and we cast it against the future, and we say, I now have just experienced this. How do I restart? Where do I go? If I were restarting today, I would be looking at industries which were recession proof. You may look back at COVID and say, how do I build a business that is COVID proof or recession proof or devastating proof? In Florida, they have hurricanes that do this, that wipe out whole families. In North Carolina this year, we saw whole townships just devastated. How do I build a business? There are ways to do that. So if it were me today, I would look at mass population. So things like, things like, how could I provide a service to people to help them with their cars? There's tons of cars everywhere. How can I provide a digital type of a footprint so I can provide things that are needed, clothing, things of necessity? How can I provide a service? So, for example, in the financial world, the insurance world, the banking world, the healthcare world, how could I find a service that is recession? I would look for that, number one. Number two is I would look to, if at all possible, we'll see how legislation works with all the devastation that's happened around the country the last 18 months. I believe that the SBA, as they have in the past, is going to allow special opportunities going forward for business owners to capitalize on. And if that's the case, as they have done in the past, there may be an opportunity, yet to see it, but there may be an opportunity where you can go out and buy a business. Why not go out and look at businesses? We have this great tsunami right now where baby boomers are trying to get out of their companies. You could literally go up to a company and say, hey, I realize, as an example, that you have an auto repair company. I don't know anything about fixing cars, but I want to buy this thing from you in 2 years. Let me come alongside you and let me work with you. Pay me a fair rate. Let me work with you and let's enter into an agreement where I can buy this from you at a future date. There are ways to do this, and there are courses that can teach you how to do this. So if I just experienced a major devastation, and I had in the past, which is what led me into the financial world, I would be looking for somebody that I could pair up with and come alongside them and look to a 3, 4, 5 year buyout of their company so I can rebuild my family, rebuild my life a little bit, and then move in that area as a business owner.
Yeah, that's a great advice. I 100% agree with you. There's a lot of industry recession proof, like you said, and there's a lot of opportunity in buying a business that has already traction, revenue, customer base that you can improve. In the buying business ways, what would be some metrics that you would recommend everybody what they're looking at to that you just pay attention to those metrics before making the purchase?
I've seen some recent metrics as of late that says you should offer 2.34% of NOI, or 2.34 times NOI. I haven't tested that on all markets, but I have checked the price point on that within the professional services area, and it works out well. So, like, let's say you want to buy an accounting firm, 2.34 times NOI really gives a good fair purchase price. So I'd be looking at that as a kind of finger in the wind, figuring out which way the wind's blowing, measurement on if the business is valued right. Number two is that if I'm buying a business, depending on how I'm going to buy it, if I'm going to buy a business where it's going to be baton handoff, where I'm going to maybe do a self-canceling note where the owner's going to finance it for me, then I want to make sure that owner's health is there, and I want to make sure they have a teacher's heart to be able to teach me what I need to know along this journey, maybe a 12, 18, 24-month period of time. I would be looking for opportunities for improvement. The reason why so many business owners are not able to sell is because their businesses are not positioned properly for sale. So for those of us now who maybe have a fire in our belly that still have some time in front of us, we could find a business that perhaps doesn't have the systems in place, that perhaps a little bit of automation or modern technology can improve, some marketing can improve. We could buy a business like that and use a little bit of capital and improve it and thus drive our value up. So I would be looking for things in the sustainable business models that can deal with a recession-proof business. I'd be looking for something that I could make instant wins on in the company.
Instant wins, everybody. I love buying businesses because there's so much opportunity there rather than starting from scratch. Um, let's talk about exit success because this is an exit scale to exit podcast. So, planning for exit success. Let's go through what entrepreneurs and business owners should do and what they should not do when it comes to planning for exit success.
Okay, define just for clarity. What do you mean by exit success? What's your definition for that?
Preparing themselves personable and also business wise to sell.
Cool. Okay. So I made a statistic earlier, and it's a statistic that's done by the Exit Planning Institute. I'm a faculty member there. I love teaching so many new CPAs. In fact, we are teaching 400 to 500 new advisors per month on how to help business owners rapidly grow their value. So I love teaching this. There's an interesting statistic that's been held true now for about 6 years, and that is that when a business owner sells, only 4% of them are happy with what they get. And the reason for that is that business owners, and I'm talking specifically to those of you who are thinking about selling your company in the future, the reason why that number is so low and 96% of business owners regret it is because we look at our business as if it's our baby. We look at our business as if it's our identity. We never stop and think about, hey, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
What's after business? So the very first thing, if you want to have a successful transition, before we get into all the technical stuff, is go ahead and start planning your life after the business. So for me, that's where I start talking to business owners saying, hey, I need you to take 90 days off. I need you to take 6 months off. And we can start building that up. So now whenever you do liquidate the company, you have the money in the bank, and now you're trying to live off that asset or do something else for your next act. Then now you're not tied emotionally to this business over here that you just liquidated. Okay, so number one is, what's next for you? Think about that question I asked earlier. If you had unlimited time, unlimited resource, what would you do tomorrow? Then let's go ahead and start doing that now. That'll help in business success. Number one. Number two, you have to make sure that you have the right amount of finances to care for your desired outcome. You see, many business owners, we're pretty smart. We listen to our tax advisors and various people, and we live vicariously through our business, right? We pay for our cars, and we pay for our cell phones, and we take our trips, and we do all this stuff through our business, and then we take a little distribution, and before you know it, we're making more money than what we realize because we cook it into our finances of our company. So if we're looking at an exit that's going to be successful, we have to make sure that the net number, net after taxes, net after lawyers, net after CPAs, net after all the brokers, everybody involved, whatever that net number is that your advisors will help you determine, that will actually provide for you on a conservative basis, not aggressive basis. We're trying to de-risk. So on a conservative basis, can it provide the lifestyle that we're used to? The reason why so many business owners regret selling their companies is because they never took time to actually take stock in how much money am I actually making out of this company? What do I need over here in stuff, investments, real estate, whatever it may be, to provide me that income? They never take time to look at that. So for me, the two top tips I would give for you is think already in the future about what you want to do in the future and go ahead and start doing it so you know what the life after business looks like. And number two, work with a really competent advisory team, a tax advisor, an exit planning advisor, a financial advisor, an attorney. Work with a competent team before you ever need to sell to make sure that the value that you're driving toward will actually provide the lifestyle that you need. Those two things will lead you to a successful exit.
You said something very important before you need to sell. How much time before do you need to start having this in place?
As soon as possible. So I'm a firm believer in prepare. In fact, my motto has been many times, plan for the worst, hope for the best, right? And so my dad was a construction guy. He taught me how to measure twice before you cut. So I'm of the opinion that you need to start measuring now. You need to start measuring because there are things that have timetables. For example, there are rules in the Internal Revenue Code that have 5-year or 60-month timeframes on them. And if you don't know these rules, you could be walking into a pitfall that you aren't prepared properly to capitalize on the upside. I write about this in my book, The Ultimate Sale, all the different pitfalls that could happen. So at least as early as possible. For most of us in the exit planning world, those of us who are value advisors, which is what I do, I teach business owners how to scale their companies. For those of us who are in that area, what we'll say is, hey, look, we need about 12 to 18 months to really kind of squeeze it. squeeze the value out of it, we're not going to get everything. If you give me 36 months, man, I can get blood out of a turnip, as the old saying says. If you give me that much time, I can do it. So the sooner the better. In my own company is what led to my success was starting my exit planning the day I launched my company, not when I was getting ready to sell.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But I'm so happy that you're saying that coming from your words, not mine, because I feel like people need to hear that again over and over again. All right. So before we end the podcast, I really want to let's dive in a little bit more into the mindset that is needed for financial success, because unfortunately, that's obviously one like belief that needs to be again overcome for business owners to really go out there and know that they deserve a successful exit and that they are deservable of financial success. So what is one of the things that they can do to shift that mindset?
I'm pausing because that's a heavy question. And a heavy question deserves a proper answer. Financial success stems from mental success. And you use the question, and in your question, you use the word deserve. Because so many of us, we're so used to giving everything away. Business owners, hear me. Despite what the media says, I know you. I literally speak to thousands of you per year. You're the most selfless people I know. You do it in the back room. You do it whenever people don't see you. You give away everything for not for your own recognition, but because it benefits those that you deeply care about. You invest countless hours, money, time, talent into your team to help them achieve things that they never dreamt was possible. You put countless hours into your community, into your clientele. You give money selflessly to charities. You give more than anybody else out there to charities as a business owner. And if we look at it, oftentimes we take care of ourselves last because we feel undeserving. Because deep within our person as a business owner, we have this fire in our belly that we know we're only racing against ourselves. We have this fire in our belly that says, I am here to do everything I can to impact the world. I am here to do everything I can to take my product or my service and know that it can add value to these people over here. And that's great. But friends, just like whenever I get on an airplane tomorrow and the flight attendant says, if you're traveling with an infant, please put your mask on yourself before you help them. The same is true for you. You have sacrificed countless. You have bled, you've cried, you've carried the weight of the world, as Atlas actually does in the book Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. You carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. And I'm grateful for that. So I want to tell you thank you. But with that comes maybe not an entitlement, maybe not even deserving. It comes to this mindset that's like, it's okay. It's okay if I'm able to take care of my family as well. It's okay to make sure my family, my legacy, my heritage, my dreams are fulfilled. It's okay. And the reason why I say that with such passion is because when I talk to so many business owners, we care so much about everybody else that we forget ourselves. The old saying says the cobbler's kids' shoes are never shod. Their kids' shoes are barefoot because the cobbler's taking care of everybody else. May I challenge you as a business owner to pause? Realize this thing that you have called a business is a wealth creation tool to create wealth, yes, for everybody we talk about, but it's also there to create wealth for yourself. And may I challenge you to look at this asset that you call a business and let's discover what it's going to take to make that asset more valuable for somebody externally to come in and say, hey, I see what you created and I'm willing to pay you for it. Now, whether or not you deserve that, that's a hard word for me to internalize. Entitlement is certainly not the case, but it's okay to desire that.
It's okay to desire that. I love that. Give yourself permission to say yes. Yes, I deserve that. Thank you so much, Justin. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to talk about right now?
And you've asked a lot of questions. I would just leave it with this. As a business owner, I know that you can charge hell with a water pistol. I know you can. I know that you have greatness inside of you. I know that you impact the lives of many. Let me just encourage you, despite what you're facing today, even perhaps the fires, even perhaps the devastation in the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee, wherever you are, that you have an unbelievable future. The future is brighter than you've ever imagined. Take a step back, look at how blessed you truly are, and let's get out there and let's get it. Let's go out and impact the world.
Let's get it, guys. I love that, Justin. I love your passion. I love your energy. Thank you so much for coming into the podcast and make everybody aware and educate on exit is an option, and you do deserve that option to exit your business on a very, very high valuable note. Thank you, Justin Goodbread. Where can they find you? Where can everybody find you?
Absolutely. I would challenge you to visit two places. I have a YouTube channel, which I teach a lot of this stuff in earnest. Go check out YouTube. And I have a fun life. Well, you go check it out on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram. I share a little bit about my life. You can see how really country I am and how much I just enjoy being out in God's creation. So check out YouTube and Instagram, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Is Justin Goodbread, both of them?
That's it. Simple.
Okay.
At Justin Goodbread on both those
Simple.
channels.
I
We'll send
love
you a
it.
link for it.
Yes, I will connect with you as well. So thank you so much. And for everybody that's listening, this was a great episode brought to you by Justin Goodbread. Please go to Amazon and purchase his book. Your baby's ugly because it's great. Thank you. And adios, muchachos. Bye.